what you just watched is probably going to keep Ismael Kone off the field for a very long time. And today, here at What Code Curiosity, we are going to go step by step through exactly what happened and what kind of injury Kone is actually dealing with. 51 minutes. Canada was already 3-0. The match was basically over. Kone received the ball on the left side. Back to the goal, and Qatar midfielder Assim Madibo comes in from behind with his right leg. The impact lands directly on Kone, standing the leg. The referee obviously showed a yellow card, but the VAR reviewed the play and it was upgraded to strike red. Kone underwent surgery that same right to repair the tibia and the fibula fractures in his left leg. He's expected to make a full recovery, but his World Cup is over. Reports put the estimated recovery is like 4 to 5 months. But what does that actually mean? What is broke? How is treated and how realistic is that number? Let's break it down. First is basic anatomy because you need to know what's there to understand what happened. Your lower leg between the knee and the ankle has two bones running but relate to each other. The first one is the tibia. This is the main bone that the one of that carries almost all of your weight when you walk, run or jump. It's the larger of the two. And if you press along the inside of your shin right now, that hard right you feel, that's the tibia. The second one is the fibula, which runs alongside in the other side of the leg. It's thinner, doesn't bear as much weight, but it's critical for the ankle stability and serves as an attachment point for a large number of muscles. Kone fractured both of them at the same time. And that's matter because when you lose the structural integrity of your bones simultaneously, the leg stops functioning as a lever. You can bear weight on it, you can control its movement, and the muscularities that depend on those bones as a corking point loses in foundation. Now, how the fuck this happened? How the tibia and fibula both break from a single tackle? When a lateral force hits the leg, as was the case with Madibo challenge, the tibia absorbs most of the impact. If that force exceeds the bone resistance, it fractures. And because the tibia and fibula are connected to a fibrous sheet called the interosseous membrane, when the tibia gives way, the fibula typically goes with it. What we can see in the images that visible deformity in the connect leg, that angle that is clearly not normal, meaning the broken end shifted off alignment, and that has direct implications for treatment. Curious, the surgeons who operated Kone that night were actually watching the match before they called it into the operation room. Before anyone touches that bone, the first things that the medical teams evaluate in the emergency room is not the fracture itself, it's the circulation. The anterior tibial artery runs very close to the bone, and a severe fracture can compromise it. If the foot loses its blood supply, you are dealing with a vascular emergency. They check the pulse in the foot, the temperature, the sensation. Only once they confirm that circulation is intact do they move to imaging and surgical planning. For a displaced tibia sheath fracture, meaning along the middle section of the bone, which is what this appears to be, the gold standard surgical treatment is something called an intramedullary nail. Surgeons insert a titanium rope down the hollow center of the tibia to the fracture site and lock it in place with the grooves above and below the break. That holds the fragments in alignment while the bone heals. The fibula may be repaired as well depending on its fracture pattern. And now, the question everyone is asking, when does Connect come back? The report says 4 to 5 months. Is that realistic? For an elite athlete with access to top level validation, obviously, yes, that's the optimistic end of the range. But you have to understand what those months actually involve, because it's not simply waiting for the bone to heal. The first 6 weeks are relative immobilization, no weight on the leg, and within those 6 weeks, the surrounding muscular start atrophy rapidly. The body begins breaking down muscle tissue and using it. That's why rehabilitation starts before the bone is fully healed, with no weight bearing exercise to maintain muscular activation. Between week 6 and 12, progressive loading begins. Kone starts walking with the assistant. The focus is on restoring range of motion in the knee and ankle, which inevitably shifting after week without use. The bone at this point is forming a callus, new tissue that gradually bridges the fracture gap at hardness. From the week 12 to roughly to 6 to 9 months come functionally recovery, strength, balance, and for a professional footballer, sport specific work, sprinting, change of direction, physical contact, that last fast is what takes the longest, and is where the difference between return to play and returning to his previous level gets decided. And there is one more thing worth mentioning, because modern sports medicine takes it very seriously, the physiological dimension. Research in sports psychology consistently show that fear of re-injury and the loss of identity as an athlete are real barriers to returning to the elite performance. Modern rehabilitation programs include sports psychological for exactly reason. The mental timeline doesn't always match the physical one. Kone is 24 years old. He has age on his side, access to world-class medical support, and a club and national team that will be with him through this process. His head coach, he may be Canada's best player in the tournament and a huge personality with the group. 4 to 5 months is the number being reported. The science says the odds for coming back are in his favor, but the road is long, and what happens during that recovery is going to determine what version of Kone we see the next time he steps into a pitch. That is for today. If this kind of content you are here for, real science explaining to what's actually happening in the world, subscribe and share this video with someone who watches the match this week. See you on the next week. Take care, White Food family.